Alrighty, students. Hey, I'm going to give you a quick example of this, how to use a case statement in Excel. We have to do that by writing a custom function. So you should see my screen here, and I'm going to use that tuition example we did from the other day, where down here in my example box, I've got, let's say a student had 10, 14, or 12 hours, and we want to figure out what their tuition would be based on the scale above. If they have under 12 hours, $400 an hour; 12 to 15, $300 an hour; and over 15, $300 for the first 15, and $350 for any item that is over 15. To do that, we're going to have to use VBA, and we're going to write a custom function in VBA and use a case statement within that function to return our tuition. So first of all, to open up the VBA console in Excel, I'm going to hold my Alt key and hit F11, and it opens the VBA console. At this point, for this example, we need to insert a module so we can write some code. So I'm going to come up here to Insert and press Module, and it gives me a blank module on the screen. So writing a custom function in Excel, and don't worry about too much about the back end of this today, but just want to show you how to do it. But since we're writing a function, I'm going to type the word function. And the next thing is whatever I'm going to call my function, or whatever word I'm going to use whenever I want to call that function. Well, I'm going to call this function, right, tuition. And then in parentheses, okay, I'm going to say what I'm sending this function, or argument. So I'm going to send it hours, and that is going to be an integer. So hours is integer. That's what I'm sending it. Then after the parentheses, what I return, and I'm going to return a double. Okay, and we'll talk about data types at some point, but just know that we're returning a double because it could have some dollars and cents in it. We could probably also use an integer in this one since it's not going to be 64,000, but that's okay. And you'll see automatically for this one, it put in my end function. Okay, so we're going to get the hours sent as a double. So now I'm going to do a case statement. A case begins with the word select, the word case, and then what we're looking at. Well, in this case, we're looking at the hours. So I'm going to do select case hours. Again, if we open a case statement, we always have to end that case statement. And just so I don't forget, I always put in select down here, and then we'll write everything in between it. And then I'm going to tab in, and this is just for readability. So I've got select case on hours, then end select. And now we just have to tell it what to do with each case. So I'm going to say case is, in this case, less than 12. Well, if it's less than 12, okay, then my return function, which is called tuition, so I'm going to tab in, tuition equals, right, it would be hours times 300. Or I'm sorry, 400. I lost what I was saying, 400, right? That's it for that one. Case is, and it will only get to this one if it makes it past the first one. So I'm going to say case is less than or equal to 15. That'll get us between 12 and 15 hours. Now in that case, tuition is equal to hours times 300. I hope if I could get my numbers right. Okay. And otherwise, we know that it has to be over 18 hours. Well, I'm going to use a special one here. I could say case is greater than 15. That would work fine too. But in this case, I'm just going to say case else, and that's anything else. In this case, that tuition is equal to, well, the first 15 hours, so I'm going to say 15, are billed at $300. So 15 times 300 plus, I'm going to do the formula here of hours minus 15 times 350, right? And that's it. We got our end select there, and we end the function, and then we know that it returns the double. So that's all we have to do. So we'll do some more detail on those later, but I'm done. What this allows me to do, I'm going to hit save here. And I'm going to save my workbook. Now, when you save your workbook and you've written anything in VBA, it has to be a macro-enabled workbook. So whenever you do the saved as type down here, you need to choose that second one down that says Excel macro-enabled workbook. I'm being very boring today, so I will let mine be named book 1 and open it up on the desktop, right? I can then close out of my VBA console, but then here's how this works. So remember, I called my function tuition. So I want my return tuition here. I'm going to do an equals sign, type my custom function, which is tuition, right? And send it the 10 hours. And it gets 4,000 returned. And I can go ahead, just like I can with any function. I'm going to convert that to dollars and cents. We don't need the decimals on it. But you'll see I can drop this, I can convert this down. So what we hope is 14, because that's between 12 and 15, should be 14 times 300, and that is 4,200. But then 18 is a special one, right? The first 15, so I'd say 15, are at 300 an hour, so that's 4,500. And then those last three, right, should be at 350. Oh. And that's 1050. So we should get 5550, which is what we get. So we see that that function is working correctly. All right. So that's just a real quick example on how that works. And I'm going to answer that call.